Hi, I'm State Representative Tina Courpas. I represent the 149th District, which is Greenwich and Stamford. I'm the ranking member of the Select Committee on Special Ed. We are so pleased that special education and the special ed students of Connecticut are getting the attention they deserve this year. I'd like to thank our majority colleagues for their hard work on this first draft of the bill. For our caucus, the highest priority for the special ed bill is Connecticut's kids, the quality of their education, the successful outcomes that our special ed system is achieving so they can reach their full academic and personal potential. We want to do right by them, to do everything we can to give them a free and appropriate education. The bill has some things in it that we are very strongly in support of, and some things we would like to do a lot of work on this week to reach what we think would be a robust bill. The first is the bill has 54 sections, and only 3 of those really address whether we are successfully serving our kids in special ed. The press conference earlier today talked about collecting data, but the kind of data we're focused on is graduation rates, attendance, IEP progress, returning to a general ed school setting, and post-secondary placements for these kids. One concern we have in the bill is that actual outcomes, programmatic outcomes, are not being measured and are not being tracked, and we think that those are paramount to really ensuring that we're doing right by our students. Secondly, we were very pleased to see in the bill that private providers are tasked with more accountability. But over 90% of our students are not served by private providers. We need to make sure that the State Department of Ed and our own Connecticut system, which does a great job, but is also held to the same level of accountability. What's good for the goose has to be good for the gander. And thirdly, we did hear in our very robust process, which again, I applaud my chairman, Representative Khan. We've done a very good process on this bill, but one thing we heard in spades was that there are too many administrative layers in the special ed process that get in the way of the education itself. One thing we'd really like to see in this bill is, instead of adding administrative layers, which the bill does do, reducing some of those administrative burdens so teachers, educators can really be focused on the kids. On the positive side, we are very pleased to see more robust funding for special ed in this bill. We like the fix that if a child leaves a district, the money follows the child. That makes a lot of sense to us. And we like the fact that outside providers are tasked with more accountability. We look forward to hearing what the public has to say today. We did notice that none of the commissioners are testifying in person on this bill. The State Department of Ed, the Department of Transportation, and very importantly, OPM, which are really going to be doing the heavy lifting on executing this bill. None of them are testifying before us today, and we really feel we need to hear from them that they are able to do this bill in the way that it's set forth, and that they have the staffing they need, et cetera. Again, our guiding principle for this work is Connecticut's kids. Anything we do and everything we do in this bill must put them first. We look forward to a lot of work this week, shoulder to shoulder with the majority, to get that done. Thank you.
What do you make of the fact that the governor's office and none of the commissioners have put in testimony? Obviously, you want their feedback. What do you make of the fact that they haven't submitted testimony yet?
I believe that SDE has submitted written testimony. I believe that Transportation has submitted written testimony, but that is not the same as our ability to really ask them questions in real time. I don't want to read too much into it, but I view it as a significant lack of information that we're really going to need in order to pass this bill out of committee strongly and in the way the kids deserve.
Obviously, a lot of this is aimed at trying to get to the root of the cause, looking at data, taking a big picture approach. Do you feel like there's tangible things the legislature can do this year, whether they're in this bill or some ideas that you have, that can help start to show some cost savings immediately?
Yes, we do support the idea that private providers' rates need to be at a minimum negotiated with the state. It is a free market in a way for private services for special ed, but in a way it's not, because it's funded with taxpayer money. So there does need to be oversight. But on the continuum of ways states have handled this, there's an approach which is heavy-handed, which I think can have a deleterious effect on the amount of private providers and the amount amount of choices out there for parents and kids, and there's a way to do it in a more balanced way. We have a lot of data on the state of Virginia that one of the schools in my district told me does it really well. It allows for some balance in that process. I don't think that balance is struck in the right place right now in this bill, and I think we need to do a little bit of work on that. But in concept, we support doing that.
On the issue of administrators, obviously there's a point where administrators aren't going to provide the value that, you know, the cost-benefit analysis of administrators is too much, but with special ed in particular, you certainly want oversight to make sure kids are safe and protected. How do you strike that balance in making sure there are protections there without having too much overload?
I think that any administration, as you correctly said, which relates specifically to accountability and outcomes, has more value. The kind of administrative burdens we're referring to as maybe not so beneficial in this bill are things like the bill currently provides that every single contract for an outplaced special ed student needs to be reviewed by OPM. That seems like an unmanageable process. The Bergen Commission, which is provided for in the bill to do even more tasks, this is a commission which was set up in 2021. It has a lot of new tasks in this bill. It expands the scope. It causes them to look at certain kinds of data that they've never looked at before, but we have concerns that the Bergen Commission has never convened. It was established in 2021, and it's never met. So why are we adding additional responsibilities to a commission that has not yet proven its effectiveness? The ombudsman, I can see there being value to a special ed ombudsman, but we have a track record in the state of ombudsmans, for example, for dyslexia that report to the State Department of Ed, and that has not been a successful model. If we're going to have an ombudsman, it should probably report elsewhere so that it has a little bit of agency and freedom to really strike the right balance. And finally, this really struck me in the bill. A lot of our teachers said that they were spending a lot of their time filling out lengthy IEPs for students. We thought the fix to that would be to streamline the IEP process and really make sure we're getting to the heart of what information we need. The bill handles the over-administrative burden of IEPs by adding a new category of people in schools who will help teachers fulfill the administrative parts of the IEP process. To me, that goes the wrong way. We ought to be streamlining that versus creating a new category of people. So that's how that's how we look at the administrative efficacy versus non-efficacy.